So for this visual literacy unit, I have chosen the medium of Sketchnote. At the moment, my grade is running two simultaneous units. The first one is, and longest running one, is the PYP exhibition, which is focusing on the students creating their own enterprise and using the entrepreneurial spirit in trying to do so. Particularly significant at the moment is we're looking at questioning to improve, so trying to think critically about what we have created and then making adjustments to be as successful as possible. The next unit that we are going to begin today is how we express ourselves, and it's focusing on the advertising component of starting your own enterprise. For this visual literacy project, I'm focusing on that first line of inquiry, which is the comprehension of elements that influence our preferences. I created this guiding question: how does marketing affect the way we think or behave, to try and focus our research. I did a fair amount of research myself, looking for techniques and strategies used in marketing, and came up with many different resources, but this one was probably one of the most comprehensive that I discovered. I figured that this would be a good one to start with for the students so that they could have a base of knowledge. The only problem being that in this line of inquiry, my thinking skill that I wanted to focus on is comprehension, and I didn't think that the way that that resource was formatted would be particularly appealing to the students. It's quite a lot of information, nicely formatted, but not necessarily going to jump out to the students. So I wanted to be able to create something that might be slightly more accessible to them. Once they have the comprehension of the elements, then they will be able to move into the next line of inquiry, which is to actually be able to recognize these elements in use and then create their own advertising using the elements. So I was trying to think of a way that I could take this information and make it more appealing, and that's when I came up with this sketch note. Central to the sketch note is the puppet being manipulated, obviously a core part to our central idea, with the other elements around the outside. So conceptually they can understand how we are not always in control based on what is fed to us visually. Just do a quick disclaimer here. I did try, after watching Sylvia Duckworth's Hangout, I tried to use the paper app, and I even went and bought myself a -2 stylus, which is actually quite a nice tool to use, but I'm quite the perfectionist and I could not control the tools the way that I wanted to in the time frame that we had given for this project, so I decided that best to just stick with paper and pen. I chose to use a pretty simple colour palette after feedback from my peer review, and then further feedback from my students saying, yeah, this was good, we didn't need to add anything extra, it would just detract from the message that we're trying to get across. So I thought the easiest way to describe why I did what I did was through another visual. You can see this top option here. If I had have given this this resource to the students as is without any visuals, I think that it probably just would have gone over their heads, and over time, pretty quickly, it was going to fade. Nothing was really going to stay in there. I figured through some kind of visual component, I would be able to get the students to comprehend a little bit better what the message that we're trying to get across, and then go further than I even anticipated that they would, which is to start making connections and synthesizing these ideas. So just to recap, I figured low impact on the students, probably low interest and low retention if it was just given in a written form. High impact retention and that opportunity for synthesis and making connections, going deeper with their thinking, which obviously will then again help with their application of this knowledge when they go to create their own advertising. Throughout this process, I have thought about one quote, short-term pain for long-term gain, to describe the process of having to create a visual, when obviously the easier thing to do would be to just grab the text and use it as is. I said short-term pain. For me, I actually really enjoy doing this sort of thing, so it's not a problem at all. I see the value in giving a visual context for the students as well. I definitely think that the impact and lasting effect that it will have on the students is far greater with the visual, and so I'm totally willing to put in the effort at the beginning so that I can guarantee that level of success.